So now we are here in a fresh Premiere Pro project, and one thing that is very important to say, that I want to say in the very beginning, because I remember how I felt when I saw this for the first time, is don't get overwhelmed. I know it looks like a lot. I know there's a bunch of windows and a lot of buttons and all that stuff, and you don't know what any of this means perhaps. Just rest assured that that's going to go away within probably half an hour or something. So we're going to click through those things, explain you every single one of them. But the first thing we're going to do is I want to tell you that you don't have to be scared moving things around, because that's the best way you can find out how everything works. And if you mess something up, you can always go back and reset to the standard layout of all those windows. And the way you do that is by going to Window, Workspaces, and then reset to saved layout. Okay, so if you reset to saved layout, it will go back to 0, so to speak. So now let's take a look through all those different windows, because lots of them we don't even need for now. And my goal is to always only have those open that I actually need to have a more clean workspace. Let's say project windows, source can go, audio track mixer can go, effect controls, program effects. Okay, so the most important window is your project window. It's this one here. And this is basically where you have all the elements that you're going to use in your video editing. So for example, import media to start, it says, right? So you will import your footage here. You will import your pictures, your songs, all the kinds of stuff that you're going to use is going to live in here. So I have quickly opened my other test project. And what we see here is the same kind of window, it's just a little bit different setup. And like I said, here, this is the project window, okay? And in the project window, we have media, assets, music, sequences. Music is actually part of assets. And then, so let's click ahead, let's click open media, and that's where our footage is. In this case, I'm going to show you examples with my recent travel footage from Egypt, from Venice. I was in Yerevan in Armenia, and more on that later, but that's basically how that works. You know, here we have all the clips. And this is, by the way, the same folder structure again, like I have in my project folder on my hard drive. So I imported this folder called example clips, which is exactly the same folder that I have on my hard drive called example clips. So you see the structure repeats itself all over, which makes it much easier to, you know, to not lose things again. So the next important thing is your timeline. In this timeline, you're going to move around your footage. You're going to assemble your video. You're going to import you're going to import the clips, the music, the images, the texts, whatever you want to use. It's going to happen in this timeline. And we can see that there's lots of layers. There's video 1, V2, V3. So you can stack footage on top of each other. You can, you know, make layers similar to Photoshop if you know how Photoshop works. Same with audio. We can have lots of layers of audio. Maybe you want to have one layer for dialogue, one layer for music, one layer for sound effects. And yeah, that's the timeline. This is the program window, and the program window is very useful because it shows you everything that happens on the timeline. So you can see this cursor here, and this represents a moment in your video in the timeline, right? So you can see here, this is what, 3 minutes. And in this moment, when it's on 3 minutes and 8 seconds, it's going to show you in the program window exactly what happens at 3 minutes and 8 seconds. And if you play back your video, for example, okay, in this case, it doesn't work because there is no video, but if you play it back, you're going to watch what you have right here in the program window. Next thing, effects. It's kind of self-explanatory. It gives you really all kinds of effects for everything. We're going to dive into that later. Again, I'm just going to give you an overview right now. You have, you know, different, you can save your favorites. You have different video transitions, audio transitions, color grading, and all that stuff, all that good stuff. So down here, you have your audio meters. You can see how loud whatever audio you play back is at the moment. That's very useful. Here at effect controls, for that we need to have a clip. Just gonna quickly show you for a second here. Zack, oops. So effect controls, and what you can do with this is you can change the size of things. You know, you can position them, reposition them, you can rotate them, you know, whatever you want. You can make them less opaque. You can speed them up and all those kinds of things. Very useful, very powerful. And you can always go back to 0 like in most things. And yeah, that's kind of the workspace you have right now. So one important thing that's interesting to note is that you can change your workspaces. So you can make specific workspaces for different steps of your workflow. So in this case, maybe up here you can see I have one that's called skin tones. And you can see instantly all the windows changed, and it's only open what I use to change to correct skin tone. So we have here vector scopes. Don't get confused, more on that later again. Lumetri color for color grading, and you can have one for audio changes. You can have one for just the main editing. You can have one for, you can have one all in one where you have all at the same time. It all depends on your workflow, and you will find out for yourself what works best for you. So let's go ahead and import all the files we need to start with the edit.